Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. But we are rejoined by guest of the podcast, rejoining many times, center for the Washington Commanders, Mr. Tyler Larsen. How are you doing on this fantastic start to the Memorial Day weekend, Tyler?
Doing great. Just enjoying a nice, quiet afternoon and, just taking it on.
Yeah, and now we are at the end of May. You know, football season is coming around, but I wanted to ask you the first question I have. How's your rehab going? How often does your rehab require you to go into the facility? And, like, what do you kind of do there?
Yeah, rehab's going great. That Achilles, it's not quite how it used to be, but it's getting there. I'm there Monday through Friday, just grinding.
Really?
I got the nickname Milestone Tyler just because I'm hitting them every single day.
There we go.
Not to toot my own horn, but it's going good. Just trying to get it all strong and try to build that confidence in it.
Yeah, we know, like, from Junior Gillette, his injury, who had his Achilles in the following
nice guy,
year,
by the way.
He his other Achilles went out. How big of a concern is that for you, like, rehabbing that Achilles and making sure that you're not overexerting your other muscles?
Yeah, this one's super hard to little girl. It's bubblegum.
What is that, bubblegum?
They're okay. Guys, say hi to everyone quick.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
So the Achilles, this is the hardest injury and rehab I've done because you just got to build that confidence in it. But at the same time, you don't realize how much structural muscles and bones that are around it that you got to strengthen before you can even actually work on and build that trust in that tendon. So it's the longest process I've ever had to be through. Like,
wow.
I literally, I'm 5 months in and I still can't run, and probably won't for another 3 weeks or so. So it's really different, but at the same time, it's cool to see because I can see all the muscles around it coming back and getting stronger. So it's a different injury. I wouldn't recommend it to other people, but it's kind of cool to see how your body reacts and the steps that you have to take to get it back.
Yeah, just thinking about hurting my Achilles makes me squeamish. I'm such a there's a reason that it has such a bad rep, you know?
Yeah. Like, I walk upstairs and I cringe.
Oh God.
Yeah, whole time. But yeah, it's pretty gross. Yeah.
I'm the worst with injuries, so but sorry, I don't mean to make you feel bad about yourself. I'm not calling you a disgusting person, but so of course the big news this offseason was bringing in two players, Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner, both of them former Pro Bowlers. What do they bring to this locker room? I mean, after losing Brandon Sheriff, you got to expect these two guys to play a pretty big role.
Yeah. Right off the bat, you got a lot of experience. The veteran players, just in the offensive line alone, we're trying to count them. I think we have 5 guys with 9 years experience, including myself. Having that veteran mindset, the kind of younger team, I think that's huge. We got that mean streak, Trey and Andrew. I just think they're going to bring physicality and leadership.
Right. Is Andrew Norwell's hair and beard as nice in real life as they look in the pictures?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I figured.
Yeah, I wish I could still grow hair like that. So I don't know how much you've been able to watch the guys practicing and kind of doing their thing at OTAs, but has anyone really just kind of stood out as far as the rookies go? Like, I know there was a picture floating around of Jahan Dotson making that one-handed catch that was all over Twitter. So yeah, is there any guy that really kind of just stood out so far to you?
I haven't gotten to watch too much I'm off on the side doing some rehab, but I mean, obviously your first round pick, he's going to be a great player, and I think he's showing that already. But I just, this rookie class, in my opinion, just on the offensive side, you see a lot more, I guess, want to is a bad word. Just drive. They know football. Like they're smart. They pick it up really quick, and it's nice. So I think it's a great rookie class, especially on the offensive side, and I'm excited to see what they all will do.
Yeah, and then Tyler, one thing that like Twitter went crazy this week because a bunch of the local press had put out like Deron Payne walking off of practice due to his contract negotiation, Terry McLaurin not being there due to his contract, and he kind of already announced that early on, so we were expecting this. But isn't that normal from a player's perspective, like in your 9 years of experience?
Yeah, I mean, if I were in that situation, I would try to make the best decision for myself. So whether it's, not practicing, because I mean OTAs are voluntary. I think you got to do whatever's best for you and your situation. I know that a lot of guys are getting paid a lot more than me, so I completely understand, because if I were playing around with that much and something happened, it would be devastating. So it's, whatever that person wants to do, fine, but you know that they're going to bring their best when season comes.
Absolutely. Right. And then real quick, just before you go, Reed, I'm sorry. OTAs, like from a fan perspective, we're looking at it, looks like a normal practice. But for you guys as players, can you kind of explain to educate us as fans what happens at OTAs and how is it different than practice?
So it's different from practice because you get all the young guys that are excited. They want to show out for the coaches, stuff like that. We call them tempo violators, but I won't name names, but there are some there. But, OTAs, especially for the veteran guys, it's really good to basically restart. I have the mindset going in to kind of start fresh. So basically relearn the offense, try to pick up things that, can help me with it. Especially, I mean, I'm comfortable in this offense, but just, trying to sharpen my mind, keep it right and everything like that. And then with all the new players coming in your position, stuff like that, you get, as offensive lineman, get used to playing next to them, kind of get that camaraderie, and just try to basically build a foundation to lead you into training camp and then to season.
Yeah, and I think Logan Paulson told Julie on the Command Center on YouTube, their Washington Commander show, that he had noticed and was really impressed by the fact that the offense looked like it was already gelling, that they looked really good. And so speaking to your camaraderie point, looks like they're ahead of schedule. Sorry, Reed.
Oh, no, you're good. That was a fantastic question because I always have questions about OTAs. But so one player I think that always seems to get forgotten about, and I'm going to be honest, he seems like he'd be my favorite person in the world just based off of his Instagram, is Sadiq Charles. A lot of people I think are kind of counting him out. He's entering year 3. What can he bring to this team? And can you see him taking a leap and possibly grabbing hold of a starting position?
I mean, anything's possible, especially with him being such a baller. Honestly,
he seems like a man.
He is. Right. And if you see him in person, you'll see his calves, biggest calves I've ever seen.
Even you can just tell in his Instagram. I'm just like, what are you? How are your thighs or your calves the size of my thighs?
It blows my mind every single time. But I mean, yeah, he knows football. If he gets a starting spot, I mean, he wouldn't miss a step. He's gonna, whatever happens with him in his career, he's gonna have a bright one. That's all I can say about Sadiq. He knows football. He's just an athlete. I always joke around. I tell him he's a DB inside of offensive line's body because he's so fluent in his movements and stuff. So
he takes the best pictures ever on Instagram. They're my favorite. He's always posing and getting somebody to take his picture in front of like the fridge.
Right.
So.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to like the draft party, we got to like talk to a couple of players, meet a couple of guys, Logan Thomas. Who else was there?
John Allen.
Oh, Jonathan Allen. Yeah, that's what I was getting to. I know. I got like fog brain today. But yeah, Jonathan Allen, we met him, got to talk to him a little bit, and he's just like a huge human being. And I was just wondering, what is it like going up against like Jonathan Allen in practices come practice time?
The best way I can think is if you have a car parked, someone knocks it out of neutral, and you're trying to push it up a hill, that's what it's like going against him. He's just he's a very strong, savvy,
thick boy.
Hard to go against. He's not one that you look forward to in practice.
I would imagine that. So just by speaking to the guy, looking into Hall's eyes, he like stole his soul.
Yeah.
We like to joke about. So I can only imagine what it's like lining up against him. But my next question for you, Ron Rivera, obviously you go back to his days at Carolina, and the culture around that team in Carolina was very, very good. Is there similarities do you see with the culture in Carolina transitioning here to Washington, heading into year 3 with Ron Rivera? And then because a lot of people, a lot of fans like to go on Ron Rivera as if he is pulling all of these strings, he is the one orchestrating, pulling these guys in. From what you see, does Ron Rivera really do that? Like, does he micromanage, or does he let his guys do his thing?
I mean, I'm not ever upstairs doing all that work, but I think he does a good job of listening to his position coaches, knowing what they need, and also trusting his guys that are out there finding free agents or talent. And so I think that just from my experience, I think he's very loyal to who is working with him and for him. And I think he builds that trust with one another. And so, I think that he has a very well thought out process of everything that goes on. And I also, just in a culture standpoint, I think he believes in doing everything the right way, treating people right, stuff like that. So I think it carries on, and I think it shows out through how he deals with players, with staff, and everything like that. So I think he has a system and style, in my opinion. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So I think what he's got going is great.
Yeah. So, Tyler, we talked about your injury a little bit. I know you kind of touched on the fact that you can run again in about 3 weeks. Do you have any timetable at all for when you can return to football activity?
In a perfect world, I would love to be back for training camp just to get my body conditioned, because once you get into the season and season practices, it's a lot different and low pace. So perfect world, I'd love to get in and get some preseason games and stuff like that. But if I could get the first week or two in the season, that'd be awesome.
And that would be a good, because what month did you tear your Achilles or rupture your
December.
Achilles? December. So that would be an amazing turnaround if you could do that, even just coming back first week of the season.
9-month mark would be in September. So
wow. That would be
trying to be like Cam Akers and get that 6 months, but he's a lot lighter than me, so it's less stress.
That's probably a good point.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you get that. You mentioned they were calling you Milestone Tyler because you keep hitting those milestones. So
never know.
But another guy that has an injury, that's coming off an injury, I should say, that you also know from Carolina is Curtis Samuel. And a lot of fans, like, obviously Twitter is crazy and ridiculous, but a lot of fans are just like kind of like, oh, Curtis Samuel, they're kind of down on him. But what do you think he's going to bring to this offense? Like, just hearing him talk, like doing interviews with like the press and stuff, he definitely seems a lot more upbeat. He seems a lot more confident and just ready to go. So fans expect from him come September in this offense.
Yeah, so if you think about the contract that he signed, he obviously earned it. He's a baller. He's fast. He's smart. He's physical. So once he gets out on that field, I think he's going to be a weapon for sure. I'm excited to have him out there healthy and going again like he was in Carolina. A lot of people are down on people, on a lot of players, but it's easy to do that when they're not really out there on the field and they haven't really seen what they can do.
Absolutely. And then to wrap this up, Tyler, I only have a couple more questions for you, but the schedule was released. And it's not really, I'm not going to ask you like about matchups in particular, but just based on how the schedule is laid out for a player, do you find it like more favorable than difficult? Going that you're home away throughout the season.
I was going to say going home away. I kind of like that, to be honest, because I don't know. To me, traveling, it's just another business trip, right? And so we do the same thing when we're at home. We go to a hotel, we have meetings at night, we go to a game, and then we drive home instead of flying in an airplane. So I think for players, really, it doesn't change much. I do think, when you look at it, we don't really travel that much. So in that sense, I think it's going to be advantageous for us. But other than that, honestly, another Sunday is another Sunday.
Yeah. Real fast. Did you see the Seattle fake schedule reveal where they told them that they were going to be playing on Thanksgiving, Christmas? They're going to go do 4 back-to-back away games, and they're going to go to London and then come back and play Thursday night. And all the players were
my God. Pissed. That would be absolutely miserable.
That was a fantastic. Well done by Seattle. But my last question for you, talking about your teammate that in your position, Chase Roullier is coming back this season and just got released today that PFF ranked him as a number 10 center in the league. Now, in your opinion, what makes Chase great? Why is he so good at what he does? And do you think that rating at number 10 center in the league, is that too low?
I think it's low. He's a great player. He's smart as hell, honestly. We always joke around with him because he's got such he's always, same energy. He's never getting too riled up. He's never down on himself. If you watch him in the run game, I talked to Keith and Wes, and I don't know how he does it. He stays in front, guys, and it just looks easy to him, honestly. So he's a great player. I think it's underrated. He's underrated, and I think he's going to show out and really show everyone what he's got.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out again for us and being able to talk some ball with us. I know it's just another part of your day, but we really do appreciate it, man. We look forward to these things. I can't thank you enough for doing it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, Tyler. You have a great night. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, sir. Stay safe.
All right, you too.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tyler Larsen. I don't know why he takes time out for us, man.
I know, right? But like the Chase
does, honestly.
Yeah. The Chase Roullier thing, it's so frustrating because like Chase is better than the 10th best center in the league. I mean, we can just be straight up. And it seemed like last year he finally started to get that recognition. Like every week, It was like people were putting these out, like this guy's underrated, this guy's really good, and then PFF has to go ruin everything and be like, it's like, who's running PFF? Daniel Kelly? What is going on right now?
Yeah, and I saw that JP had tweeted today that some snippet from NFL.com saying that Terry McLaurin is the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL, and I wholeheartedly agree. I just think it's funny that it took somebody from the NFL.com to put it for you to say that is essentially my point, because I've been saying that for almost a year now, saying that Terry McLaurin is an elite wide receiver. But look, we don't need to sit here and rile on people. You know what I'm saying? They've already had a hard enough week. And speaking of, you guys want to do story time real quick before we are joined by our next guest, and we could talk about some current events that have happened. What about you, Reed? Why don't you start us off?
Yeah. So I'll talk about some of these current events first, if that's okay with you there, Kyle. Is that okay? All right.
Yeah, do it.
So you guys saw obviously the Javon Kinlaw situation, right?
Yes.
How crazy that is. So if you guys don't know the Javon Kinlaw situation, Javon Kinlaw, of course, former first-round pick out of South Carolina by the San Francisco 49ers in 2020, a team reporter for the 49ers, a credentialed reporter, mind you, named Grant Cohn. Grant Cohn has a show. He had Javon Kinlaw on. And at first, when you first see all this, the media kind of put it out there like Javon Kinlaw was just going on this guy for no reason. Javon Kinlaw was talking a lot of smack to him. He was getting into it. He was 100% serious. And then it comes out, Grant Cohn kind of reports on himself that he released a video, just douchey, by the way, saying things like, what was it, Javon? Was it the hundreds of times that I've made fun of you before? Was it? And it comes out that he's been going on Javon Kinlaw hard. And it kind of took this flip with like the media that's been in question lately. And Javon Kinlaw just completely berated him. And he's kept saying something in there like, I'm a human just like you. And you treat me like I'm an animal. And it was such a big deal that all the 49ers fans kind of rallied around Kinlaw. And they're like, yeah, this guy does this all the time. This isn't fair. And it was just insane to see.
Yep.
Like, this is almost like if John Keim and Deron Payne got into it, like for us. Like, this guy's got us. He's still a credentialed reporter for the 49ers. Like, this guy has to walk into the locker room and interview some of these players. This is going to be hell for him this week. His dad worked there. His dad was a beat reporter for the 49ers. And he's just going to get, the guy's a tool straight up. I mean, the things that he said, the way he's acting, how smug he's getting. He said that he wishes Javon Kinlaw would have hit him when he confronted him in person. So that way he could never work again and make millions of dollars from doing it. So it's like, this guy, that's the type of dude who's going to, yeah.
Take his credentials away. Honestly.
I know. That's the kind of guy who would walk into 49ers Park and slip on the floor and be like, well, I guess you guys owe me $1 million right now because I'm never working again. Like, it's pathetic. It was terrible.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he put that out there, made it public that he wishes Kinlaw would have hit him so he could make money. So obviously
he self-reported 100%.
Yeah, so he's literally looking just to make something out of this, and it's unfortunate he has to rile up Javon Kinlaw's feelings in order to get a response. But
also, like Kinlaw, remember his story? Like, he was homeless in DC. First of all, he's a DC native.
Oh,
second of all, he was homeless at one point. He went from being homeless to a first-round NFL draft pick. He's providing for his family. He's doing this. Yeah, he hasn't lived up to expectations yet, but like, you got to respect the guy. You got to show him some form of respect. And like, this dude just hasn't done it throughout his entire career, it seems like. And it's pathetic, man. I'm happy that players are finally starting to call out some of the media members.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you did that. And this story time isn't really story time. Obviously, we just wanted to pick things to talk about. But one I did yesterday. I went to the chiropractor. I've had really, really bad back pain the past couple of days, like 3 or 4 days.
It's from carrying the show, by the way.
No, it's so I go to the chiropractor, and they call you back to this room. You go back into this room. They lay you face down, and they strap like the electrical patches on your back. Essentially, they feels
so good though, doesn't it?
Oh my goodness, dude! They were shooting it up my spine. I could feel the entire way. That I was like, the whole time it was happening, I was like, man, I would just want one of these at home. This is awesome. But then the next thing, they take you over and put you on this bed that's essentially like it looks like a water bed, but what it does is it shoots air under your muscles. So essentially it's massaging your back, your legs, and everything like that. And so I was feeling good. Everything was fine. And so the last step of the chiropractor is me getting actually cracked by the chiropractor, fixing me out. And so while he's doing that, he does this thing where, like, he'll take your legs, he'll turn your legs like this to see your flexibility in each leg, to see where the issue is, right? But sometimes to fix that issue, what he'll do is he'll take your knees and bring it up to your chest just to be able to crack that position and put things in place, right? And I was petrified of him doing that, dude, because I had to rip one. And I was like, how awkward is this going to be when he just, like, he's thinking he's about to fix my back. He's like, we're like inches away from each other, face to face, and I just go, you know, like, how bad that would be.
Is that how beta it would be?
Dude, it would have been so embarrassing, and it didn't happen, thank goodness. He was like, "Oh, you're all done, you're good to go," and I got up and I felt 1,000 times better. I'm good. I'm not embarrassed. The pain is gone. This is a good day.
He probably does it. I feel like people fart all the time in the chiropractor. They have to, because like some of the stuff that they do, you're right. Like, there's no way that you can. So maybe he would have been okay with it, Kyle, Deshaun Watson, Ronick, but maybe.
Dude, I was like, whenever he was like doing the stretches, or whatever, I was like, yeah, you better calm down, man. You're with a loaded gun right now.
Yeah, right.
That's funny.
You got anything, Hall?
Shells in that shotgun.
I mean, no.
Well, to replace yours, what we could do is we could talk about the local media and the mishaps that happened this week. Speaking of story time. Because this was absolutely insane. It was multiple days in a row where the media was reporting things, and it was absolutely incorrect. It started off with the Dan Snyder USA Today article, and everyone posted about it, put it out there, and then Roger Goodell shoos it away. You can make your comments about the way that Roger Goodell said it, basically, essentially taking himself away from any guilt of ousting out Dan. And then it comes down to the Dumfries stadium relocation for the new stadium. Well, it comes to find out it was not in Dumfries. It was actually in Woodbridge was what the proposal was. And so the media had to retract that, and they had to go, oh, well, this is what happened. So then Tuesday happens, and the Athletic reports that Deron Payne walked off the field due to his contract negotiation, and then the next day, Deron Payne comes out on Twitter and says, that's not the case. You think I walked off the field and stopped working? He's like, we're always working.
It was one reporter in particular who blamed it on the Athletic when he's the one who tweeted it out. And I love the guy. I mean, I've always been cool with him, but Ben, come on, like you literally wrote the and then you go back and you're like, the Athletic reported the other day that Deron Payne walked out because of contracts. That's not true. I was like, you reported it. Like, come on.
Yeah,
that was you.
It's really funny because one of my followers, KB, actually had put a couple picture screenshots together of the timeline of these tweets, and the first tweet of him actually announcing what he saw with Deron Payne, it says, "I'm reporting it, Deron Payne, whatever."
Right.
And then after the fact, when he was proven wrong, he's like, "Well, the Athletic is reporting it." Come on, man.
Yeah, Ben, you're better than that.
It's just a really bad week for them. I get it. You know, we all have bad weeks and everything, but it's just kind of funny because how long have I been talking about this sort of dark cloud that hangs over essentially this negative connotation that gets attributed to every single situation here, and it's awesome to see Twitter actually seeing it.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was like even after the first day of OTAs, it was always Carson Wentz looks awesome. Carson Wentz has a strong arm. Carson Wentz, he's just, you can tell that he's got these players different. He's got the playbook down flat. Oh, by the way, Carson Wentz also threw an interception to a second string defender. And it's like, you guys just always end it with that. Like, and then you're like, well, I'm just reporting. It's like, no, you literally, did you not read the good things that I said about him? It's like, yeah, but you put that negative at the end to kind of negate the positives that you had originally said to kind of keep the conversation going and be like, well, is this going to be a thing? That's Carson Wentz's thing. It's like, you guys just do this on purpose. Like, we know we're not stupid anymore.
So the funny thing is about that is like, you have to look at it in context, right? Because I had Sports Illustrated come out with an article titled Washington offseason moves, like, gets shot down, essentially. And what it was is it was a Sports Illustrated article talking about Carson Wentz not being as good as he is, essentially being brought to this team on his last hoorah, you could say. But the basis that was used to formulate that Sports Illustrated article was from The Athletic, talking about how a bad move it was. So you could look at the tweet by Ben Standig and saying he's trying to basically promote that what he was saying is fact, that it was a bad move, that he isn't doing all that well. So once you understand that context, you sit here and look at that tweet and you say, well, now, calm down a little bit. And that's the whole thing, is they think we're stupid that we don't see these things, man.
And even getting in the replies of people who are calling them out on Twitter, and that all of them have been doing it. Like, I know, but like, I've seen JP do it, I've seen Ben do it, I've seen all these people do it, everybody from 106.7 pretty much, and everybody, it's so funny, like, they completely backtrack and then they're like, look, man, I'm just a fan just like you, I'm just reporting. It's like, yeah, no, but you have more responsibility than that, though, because you're a media member and you push the news to us. So like, you kind of got to be a little bit more responsible with it. And if you don't want to be called out on it, I don't know, maybe don't put controversial stuff that you know is going to get people riled up. I don't know. Right. Or just accept it and be like, yeah, I did do that. I don't know.
Twitter club.
Yeah.
And I just think it's this, and look, the messed up thing is, like, that the local media, it's not like they literally like hate this team and they want to see this team do badly. It's not that at all.
Their jobs are better and they have better careers based off the team doing good. So obviously they want the team to do good.
Right, exactly. But the fact that the biggest issue that I have seeing this team and how it's reported is the lack of foresight, is the lack of ability to understand why somebody would make the decisions that they do, instead of being, this is bad, this is stupid, basically downplaying everything that's done, instead of looking at it and saying, well, there's reasons for that. There's a reason for this decision, but it's not portrayed that way. And I can understand it from their perspective, because generally local media is right with that kind of negative connotation with this team, but this is not the same team. This is a completely different team, like we've heard from Tyler earlier. This is similar to what they had in Carolina, where you're building up that culture, trying to get the team actually focused on football and not off-season issues and getting ready for week one like RG. You want this team is in the right mindset, and I like to see it now. It's just trying to keep pulling the fans back to the old and showing them that nothing has changed is the issue that I have, because there have been big changes.
Right. Yeah. That's also... Go ahead, Hall.
Jason Wright just pulled over on the side of the road and took a picture with the dude that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And again, that's a positive thing. Shout out to the media for retweeting it out and putting a positive thing out there.
Yeah.
Do more of that, and then maybe Twitter wouldn't be so damn crazy all the time.
Right.
Pete did tweet that out there with a smart-ass remark, though. You could tell
he
didn't want to put it out. But if you guys don't know, there was a Washington fan that was, I guess, out in front of a Nova Performance building out in Virginia, and he was standing there with a Washington jersey on. Jason Wright apparently drove by him and was on the phone and saw him, turned around, got off the phone, and came over and said got out of his car and went over and took a picture with the guy. I mean, it just speaks to the president of this football team. I mean, I don't think Bruce would have done that. Bruce probably would have hit him because he probably would have been drunk.
Yeah.
No, one of his Coors Light cans at him and kept it moving.
Right. Yeah. Are we talking about Bruce or Scott? I'm just kidding. But what? He's an alcoholic. It's a disease. Some would say it's the best disease. Like, your disease makes you drink. That's cool. No, but I hate that Jason's been like, and you could say I'm sucking up. I'm not, but like Jason's been getting so much, like people think that Jason like literally is in charge of everything right now. Like people are like, look at what he's doing, look at the like, and he's just getting criticism for not bringing players in, and it's like, you guys realize that he has nothing to do with this, right? Like this is,
even if you look at the comments under like what I think it was like either JP, both of them like retweeted it, JP and Pete. People are like, he's a fraud, he's just doing this because he wants to get save face and he doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm just like,
they retweeted that.
No, people were tweeting.
Oh, okay. I thought you said they retweeted it. I was like,
he's a fraud. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's horrible at his job, and just random stuff. And it's just like, what? Like, why do you hate your life so much? Why? Like, what?
Twitter is a nice place,
dude. Speaking of Twitter being a wild place, Jack Del Rio took over Twitter last night. But this was absolutely amazing. Probably my favorite part of the day yesterday, just because things have been kind of really downtrodden with the news out in Texas, and it's just absolutely horrible and tragic. And Jack Del Rio gave us a good laugh last night. Good thing. There was a person on Twitter, this random guy, and he tagged these people in it. He said, I blame Ron Rivera, I blame Coach Del Rio, and of course the snake, President Jason Wright, for all this Daron Payne drama. We drafted a stud back in 2018, and all you have been playing games the last 2 seasons. Karma gonna bite when he goes within the division. And Jack Del Rio quote tweeted it and said, "Bite D's."
But the best thing after that, Jack Del Rio congratulating Wes Unseld Jr. for getting the Wizards head coaching job 10 months ago. Like he was it was just, that's my DC, man. The guy gets it. He's been coached for the entire season.
Yes. And now we are joined by my guy of the DMV Sports Talk podcast, my man Nate. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Sorry for being late, guys. Just came from another meeting, but this is a true honor to be on your guys' pod. I watch it and listen to it every single week, and really enjoy you guys. So
hell yeah, man! Thank you.
Appreciate you saying
Pumped
that, man.
To have you on, dude.
You are an incredibly smart young man. Have had the pleasure of being able to come onto your show, and it really is a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of yours as well. But I wanted to bring on here. Let's talk about these fan questions and end the show out. And the first one I have, Nate, I want to go to you with this one first. This is from my guy, Aki G, who DM'd me on Twitter. With the looming Dan Snyder oust, the team purchasing land in Virginia, if Dan is forced out, do you think the new owner would still move the team to Virginia or work something out with DC or Maryland?
Personally, I think the new owner, whoever that's going to be, if that's the case, will ultimately pick the best offer, whether that's Virginia, whether that's DC, whether that's Maryland. I ultimately don't think it's going to be in DC because there's a lot of federal hurdles that you have to go through right now. It's not just a city issue. It's very much a federal government issue. And, you know, we've seen in the past how the federal government doesn't pass a lot of things. So I just don't think, that's feasible. But in terms of Virginia or over Maryland, I could see that happening. But in my opinion, it's just going to be the best offer that's on the table.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Maryland, like where all the places they have besides the National Harbor that's close to D.C., you don't really have much land, right? And like you don't really have that opportunity. And look, we could talk about FedEx Field, and we know that they want to be able to build up the area around FedEx. They've told Dan we're going to put up $350 million for that site in oh my goodness, I can't even remember. Yeah, in Landover. I kept thinking Loudon. In Landover, and so what they said is we're going to give you that $300 million, but that's going to be for everything on the outside of the stadium. You're going to have to purchase that stadium yourself. The only issue is that there's really in that area there's not much going on, and so you would have to go to the National Harbor or DC, but Virginia is where the land is, and that's where probably the most possibility is, especially there in Loudon, where they already are in Ashburn. So if there was a new owner to take over, I think it's only one or two places. I think it's D.C. or the National Harbor. I would love for it to be in Loudon, but the whole issue being with like the metro and everything, I know they do have the Silver Line out there, but I guess you could say all three would be there. I think National Harbor is probably the best bet for Maryland, but I still think that's a stretch. What do you think, Reed?
Yeah, I mean, so I think if Dan Snyder is replaced, you got to think that a lot of these politicians would, I mean, like I heard earlier on the radio, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I forget who it was who was talking about it, but
Chump Peterson?
I believe so. He was talking about how a lot of the politicians, they're of course going to agree with the masses. The masses don't like Dan Snyder, so they're going to do anything they can to vote against them because they don't want to look bad going with Dan Snyder. But if they get somebody in there that they like, I think that they'll have a lot more opportunities. But yeah, I think Virginia makes the most sense because, like you said, the land situation. So I do think it'll be there. I would imagine that they would, after hearing all this backlash, they would like it to be closer to DC. But yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. It would be a lot of fun to see. It's going to be cool seeing what other places they come up with if this Woodbridge thing doesn't come through.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I would love the National Harbor. I've worked there multiple
I think that's
times.
best.
I think that is the spot to be at. But Maryland and their politicians, I think, are probably the thorn in the backside. But we can all agree that RFK is where we all want to go. What do you think about this, Hall?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with most of y'all, or all of y'all, really. It's just, I think that if there is a new owner, like, I think he just go with the best deal possible. And it looks like, I mean, at the end of the day, you could definitely say the same thing about Nat Stadium and all that. Like, when they first put Nat Stadium down there was like not a lot of stuff to do around it. It was like they were still building it up. And then look at Nat Stadium now.
Right.
So I definitely think that if you did that with FedEx, you could put the stuff there and then hopefully it would like build it up. Obviously, it would depend on the team doing well and like playing well and getting more people to come to the stadium. But at the end of the day,
the one difference is Ted Lerner and his company, he's like a real estate corporate guy. So that's easy for him to build out because he literally bought everything.
Yeah, of course. I'm just saying as far as like Maryland giving him the money for all the surrounding stuff.
Yeah, I
so
got
they could build it up and kind of make it that. But again, the reason that Nats Stadium and all that stuff is thriving is because the Nats had a stretch where they were winning, making the playoffs. Obviously, they won a World Series. So at the end of the day, I just feel like it all comes down to winning. And no matter where the stadium's at, unless it's like all the way in Dumfries, I think that majority of the fans, if this team is playing well on the field, they'll go to wherever it's at.
Yeah. And
the good thing is there's a lot of trees around Landover, and we all hate trees. You need to knock those things out, cement over it, and just build that new thing. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think the government would absolutely agree with you there.
Probably.
But Hall, I'm going to keep this with you. This question is from the Colonel, and this is a fantastic question, one that I am petrified of, that I've talked about for many, many times going back to March.
I know where this is going.
Now it appears the Woodbridge deal for the stadium won't be approved with state legislators, saying Washington's no longer an identity, nor a fan base to justify the expense. This, coupled with all of the Snyder drama, is Washington in danger of losing their football franchise?
Well, first of all, I got to say, I'm right there with you. Like, I've been on the same mind length, the same wave as you, where it's like, if you can't get a deal done, people are just kind of like, oh, well, it's DC. It's one of the biggest markets. I'm not going to let him leave. Trust me, they'll let him leave. But at the end of the day, I honestly don't think they would let this team leave this market. I don't think that it would move to another city. I do think there is a slight percentage chance. And if more and more stuff with Dan Snyder keeps coming out, keeps happening over the next couple of years, then it would definitely be more of a possibility. But I just think that it's the NFL. It's too big of a brand, too big of a money grab for one of these states, whether it be Virginia or Maryland, to let this team leave, whether it's Dan Snyder still here or not. And at the end of the day, I do think that if Dan came down to it and he was forced to just put up his own money or sell the team or move it somewhere else, I think first on his list would probably be put up his own money. So I don't think they're going anywhere, but I'm not going to say never because anything's possible. And just like Kyle, this has been in the back of my mind for the past maybe year or two, like kind of just building up. So hopefully not, but we'll see.
Yeah, and look, we've seen it before with this team, and like with the stadium and everything, it would make sense for the NFL to say, well, they're going to still watch TV, but they're not going to go to the stadium, so it's okay if they don't have one. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to move out of the DC area. I just think even with the rebrand, even with us changing our name, you have too rich of a history here, too rich of a storied franchise here to really move away from the area. And then you have to add in the fact that you cannot have the nation's capital not have a football team. It just doesn't work that way. I know some people out there might say, oh, well, we didn't have baseball in DC for decades, right, with the Nationals and stuff. But what a lot of people forget is that the Nationals, or the baseball team that was in DC, wasn't that good, right? We won 3 Super Bowls with this team. There's still, when we get back to the winning ways, like there's still a lot of hope in this fan base. And I feel like if we start winning, we'll see that on the field. We'll see that in the fan base. So I definitely think we won't move. I think Dan Snyder, he's going to pick the best offer on the table, and he's going to run with it again.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am just concerned that basically, because what happens is these politicians are coming out and saying this is how much money we have in support. And this has happened with Virginia. This has happened with Maryland. And then as time goes on, as each bad press comes out, that money dwindles down to the point where you're on your own, essentially. And at what point would Dan Snyder say, we can't stay at FedEx because we know how bad and poorly it is being ran, how bad of a stadium it is. It's not a long-term solution unless we literally demo it and build up our own there, right? Would he say, would I go to another market? And that's the one concern that I do have, because there are other markets out there that would be susceptible to a new team that would love to be able to go see a football game, that are thriving communities. But I do think you're right that this is the area to be in. They have the identity with these fans in the area. But I think, to your point, Addy, that they just have to come back. They have to win. And that's the biggest issue, is like the thing with me, I know I've been critical of the fan base not showing up to games, but it's a two-way street. I totally understand that. But we have to meet each other halfway. The team has to perform better, but we also have to be better as fans by showing up to give them the stage of being excited about the game. Because players will tell you, when you go out there and you see nothing but opposing team fans in your home stadium, it does affect you. It does impact you. It's not the same. It's not the same vibe as you go to these other stadiums. And I do agree with them in that aspect. I want everyone to be happy. You know what I mean? I want to win games. I want the stadium to be full.
Right. But also, to your point, though, I mean, this is a football town. I mean, look, the Capitals and the Nats have both won recently, and this will always be a football. Like, could you imagine what this fan base would be like if Washington started winning, if the Commanders started winning, like, consistently? Like, it would just be unreal. So I do think you're right. I don't think that they're going to go anywhere. I think that it's too rich, too historic. I think a lot more would have to go wrong for them to even consider it. Like, a lot more losing seasons, some more allegations coming out to the point where it's just like this franchise is draining money at this point. You guys got to bounce. But I don't think that it'll happen. I don't see that going down.
If the Jaguars can keep their stadium and keep being in Jacksonville, while literally they have, like, I'm not going to say, I guess we're 32nd. We might be with the Jaguars 31st, 32nd. I don't know. But their fans literally wear, like, clown suits to the stadium. Like, they get like maybe what's it called? Like blackouts sometimes, like down.
Yeah.
Like, and they're still in Jacksonville. So it's like, at the end of the day, no matter how bad they are, unless it's like literally just getting driven under the ground 6 feet deep, they won't move the team out of Washington area.
But the big difference is with the Jaguars and this franchise is they don't have a media conglomerate essentially picking apart every single move. The Jacksonville media is not as high up as the DC media. But I'm going to keep this. I'm going to go to you, Natty, and this is a really, really fun one. This is from our guy, Tony Shivers, in the Discord chat server. Will the team change the official hashtag from Hail to the Commanders to Bite D's?
No, it will not. It will proceed with HTTC. It will proceed with HTTC. I was one of those people who wanted the organization to change the hashtag from Take Command to HTTC, and I was very happy about it. I know there's some older generation fans who might be upset because it refers back to our old hashtag. Personally, as a young fan, I like it. I'm not for that other hashtag that you brought up. But yeah, Jack Del Rio is going to be Jack Del Rio.
I would say they don't need to replace anything. Just add it in, man. Let's just make sure we have 2 hashtags now, HTTC and Bite D's. I would absolutely love that.
I say we chant that at every game when an opponent scores. That's what we do. I'm down for that.
Absolutely.
You got to chant it whenever they get a sack or like a pick or a turnover or something.
Right.
Bite D's. Yeah. Dude, I would love that. That's so awesome. Oh, Jack Del Rio, what a blessing. Now, our next question is Andy Lockhart, Scouse Andy in the Discord chat server. Natty, I want to go to you with this. Oi! Why does most of the beat reporters have a hidden negative agenda against the players? I don't mean players in particular. He wrote players against the team.
I mean, you talked about the fact that, in terms of the fan base, there's the lack of winning, right? But there's also fans needing to show up. I feel like in terms of why the media has sort of like this vendetta against the organization is because the organization has put itself in a bad light for years, for decades now, right? Like since we started winning in the 80s and 90s. And it's not just the lack of success on the field, it's also all the off the field drama. I mean, I have a lot of friends in Chicago and they're Bears fans, and they always talk about how Commanders are always in the media, and they, they're content creators as well, and they get jealous because we always have stuff to talk about when it comes to this team with all the off the field stuff. But yeah, I think that's part of the reason why. But I also think, like you said earlier, with us being in the DC market, like whether it be politics, sports, whatever, like the media is very, very aggressive when it comes to asking the questions that they want to ask, having the agendas that they want to have. So I feel like you got to factor that in as well.
I wholeheartedly agree. I do. I do think there is something under that we don't see. Essentially, I do feel like there is some sort of hidden agenda. Not essentially like against the team, against the players, but more so the fact that when Ron Rivera came in here, one of the first things he did was get all the leaks out. He X'd it all out. And then COVID hit, and so they eliminated all of the locker room ability of the beat guys of being able to get these one-on-one connections and stuff like that. I do feel like there is resentment in that breath. I do feel like there is animosity between the coaching staff and the beat reporters because I think Ron Rivera understands psychological warfare, essentially, and how there's charged, loaded questions with kind of smart aleck tones with it, and he's tired of it because he's trying to move a mountain. And when you're trying to move a mountain, if there's a bunch of people behind you yelling at you saying you're not doing it well, you're not doing enough, well, come on over here and help. That's not what they're doing, and that's why I think it's very hard for Rivera just to sit down and take it all, because the dude is doing everything he can to get this team up and running. But I can understand from the media perspective because they're feeling like they don't have the same ability as they did before Ron Rivera. And so, in their mind, is it profitable for them to be able to get Ron Rivera out of here so they could get back into locker room and get their leaks again? I feel like there is something to that. What do you think, Hall?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to the team and the lack of success on the field and just all the blunders and all the negative stuff that happens off the field. Obviously, reporters hear a lot more stuff than we do that never comes to the light, that they don't report about, or they just maybe it's like hearsay or rumors. So I definitely think that factors into it. Obviously, the vitriol for Dan Snyder. Everyone has kind of like a gripe to pick with like Dan Snyder, whether it's
he deserves it.
Yeah,
he's
of course,
a nice guy.
I'm not saying like that's like they shouldn't, like they should.
Yeah.
But and a lot of the local guys are also fans of the team. That grew up fans of the team, and I feel like it's also has to do with like they feel like Dan has kind of destroyed the team and taken it down like way below where it should be, and they have like a little kind of personal attachment to it. So that also comes out in the reporting. So I think it's just all a big cluster of just a dark cloud of negativity that's been over this team for a long time. And it takes, honestly, just winning to kind of clear it all up. And hopefully they get to that. And I'm tired of the negativeness. But at the end of the day, when you're around negativity a lot, it's kind of hard to push it away.
Exactly.
So
right.
That Ron Rivera is trying to do the best he can to push it away. It's just a matter of doing it on the field. And
right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just to piggyback off that, I mean, because I think you guys pretty much all hit the nails on the head. I mean, yeah, it's hard to break that habit when you've been dealing with that for so long, and it's constantly going on. It's constantly losing. It's constantly crazy accusations. It's constantly just crazy stories, players coming here and not panning out. And that mixed with the fact that it's such a big market, like you said, it's bound to happen. But that doesn't make it right. I mean, I do think that they need to take a step back, but there might, I think some of them probably have a little animosity towards the franchise. So.
Absolutely. Nate, I'm going to put you on blast with this one, because the last question we have before we get into our OTA highlights of what happened this week, this last question from Jeff Miles, our Discord chat server. It's a fun one. A couple months ago, you guys compared yourselves to a player on the Commanders. Now do the same for people in the Discord chat. So we got to go through. We got to look at all the guys. We got Yam Starch. We got Aki G's in there. Andy Lockhart, Tony Shivers, Burrows is in there. Digital Guru. So do you want to start first, Reed, by saying who Scouse Andy is?
Scouse Andy. I am Scouse Andy. You know what? I am going to go with. You know what? I'm going to go with John Bates, and here's why. You know, you've been around here for a little bit. You're starting to come out of your shell, and you're starting to become a reliable, consistent contributor all the time. And you're somebody that we all have high hopes for, you know, and, but you've been around the block. You're a veteran now, and you're becoming consistent week in and week out. And hey, If Logan Thomas is gone, you can come fill right in. We'll feel very comfortable with you sitting right here on big old Papa's lap.
Yeah, and I'll say digital guru in our Discord chat server. I'll say he's Chase Roulier, just because he's very melancholy. He's straight out. He just does all the great work that he does, and he's always even keel. Always great to have a conversation with that guy. He's dependable. That's what I love about digital guru. So Chase Roulier for me. What about you, Hall? What do you think for Burrows?
Oi.
Oh man, who is Andy Burrows?
Say Logan Thomas. Make him happy.
All right, I guess you're Logan Thomas. I mean, you're a guy that just came out of nowhere and just started contributing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people didn't know who you were other than like your past life, but you came here, you started contributing, and now you're a shining superstar of the Washington community.
Yeah, so the UK is the tight end room, pretty much. That's what we're getting at.
Essentially. Yeah. And then our boy Scott Hartley, my man.
I was going to go with Samus Reyes because he's a thick boy if we're keeping that tight end group going.
I was going to say Jonathan Allen just because he's dependable, consistent, and constant always, all the time. We love you guys. You guys really do a lot for us, and we can't thank you enough. Then Jeff Miles, I'll say you're Terry McLaurin, brother.
I was about to say that too.
Jeff Miles is my man. Yeah. But, Natty, let's finish this off, man. Let's talk about OTAs this week. Who's somebody or something that jumped out from you with OTAs, with everything that's been reported?
Yeah, I would say outside the absences from OTAs, I would say John Bates, and reportedly being a good player at OTAs. And also you got to factor in that he's going to likely have a huge role for the Washington Commanders this season, especially with Logan Thomas potentially missing the first couple of games. And, John Bates showed some nice things last year, great blocking, showed some chops in the receiving game as well. And he continues to progress like Ron Rivera and the entire coaching staff wants. He could potentially be a very solid piece for us for years to come. And again, based off of the OTA production or performance, he's done good so far.
Yeah, that's a great one. I love John Bates. I'm a big guy. But I will say the J.D. McKissick dump-off from Carson Wentz, where he completely juked 96 out of his shoes. So he turns around for the football. And as he turned around for the football, the defender's collapsing on his back. And so J.D., after he catches the ball in the flat, he goes inside before
Didn't he catch it one-handed too?
Yeah, he caught it one-handed. Yeah. Not only did he catch it one-handed, he then jukes the guy by stepping inside, then outside, completely stifling him.
Pinball machine.
It was absolutely
back and forth.
Beautiful to see J.D. McKissick do that. He's back in mid-season form, just like he was in Atlanta, right?
He's so underappreciated too.
I know.
He really is.
Yeah.
As a pass blocker, he was so essential to us. And as soon as he left last season, things started rolling downhill. What's your highlight of the week so far, Hall?
I wouldn't really call it a highlight, but I got to shout my guy AG out.
I was just about to say it too.
John Keim reported that he got his body fat down. He's looking a lot quicker, a lot more smooth in the drills that they showed.
He went from 24 to like 12%, right, in body fat.
Yeah. He's carrying the ball high and tight, which is what I like to see. Obviously, it's OTAs. It's not going to really. We're not going to see what he's been practicing on, what he's been working on until the game starts, and see if he can hold on to the ball or not. But I like what I see so far from my guy AG, and I'm hoping that year 3 he takes off like a rocket.
Right, and on top of all that, being welcoming to Brian Robinson coming in and taking that just rolling with it, understanding that's what it is, and being accepted. I, however, am going to go with, I guess you guys all took some pretty good ones, people that made some noise, but I'm going to go with old Commander Carson Wentz going out there and just hearing these players talk about Carson Wentz. They just seem to be so impressed. It seems to be just night and day. No offense to Taylor Heineke. He's a nice guy. The guy's got a noodle for an arm. And Carson Wentz is out there looking completely different. Old Thor over here throwing that hammer left and right. And the players really seem to accept it. And they're getting used to it and trying to take to it. And I think that they're all very excited for Carson Wentz.
And Diami Brown had a fantastic catch from Carson Wentz as well, over the shoulder. And absolutely beautiful stuff. And one of the things I heard from Bram Weinstein on the Commander's actual YouTube show, like Carson looks the part. And like that, you understand what that means, essentially. Like he just looks like a quarterback, big, strong arm. He can get the ball downfield, and that's something they haven't had. And Diami Brown is somebody that could really be productive with a quarterback like Carson.
Remember, that's one of the things Ron Rivera and Joe Gibbs talked about. They wanted, of course, if Russell Wilson was available, would go after him. But one of the things was you want a quarterback that's 6'5", that can see over the line, that can take hits, that's bigger, that just has a rocket arm, and that's exactly what Carson Wentz is. So,
and one player that I see is continuing to get talked about more and more is Cole Turner. And like Zach Selby was talking about his catch radius. I know that has obviously been talked about a lot, but it's like he's a name that you continue to see pop up. And so my question, do you think that he's actually going to be starting if Logan Thomas sits to start the season?
I think he's going to have a role. Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, you can't, as deep as the tight end room is, if somebody is really doing that, and he really kind of has a skill set that nobody else has in that room. He's a big wide receiver. So if you can't keep him off the field, he's got to force them to play him and go line up out wide and do his thing. I could see him getting a good amount of playing time.
What do you think,
I
Nick?
also know that Scott. Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There was also like talk about how they might do a 2 tight end set, at least to start the season, with Turner and Bates. I can see that. And I agree with Reed. Like, in terms of Turner, he brings a whole different skill set than a lot of the players on this roster. He is that big receiver. And I think he would excel in this offense, especially with Logan Thomas, once again, likely to be out the first couple games of the season.
Sorry, Hall.
No, yeah, that was my bad. I didn't know you were like asking everybody. But yeah, no, I definitely think that Scott Turner likes to run that 21 personnel with the 2 tight ends, running back, and so I definitely think that Cole Turner is going to have a huge role in the first couple of weeks or the first quarter of the season. Like everyone's been saying, Logan Thomas might not be ready for week 1, but I definitely think that John Bates will be like the starting tight end just because of his blocking skills. And we all Ron Rivera at the end of the day wants to kind of be a ball control, run the ball type of guy, and then take those downfield shots when they're there. But I definitely think that with that 21 personnel and the different formations and the different type of the rest of the rest of the playbook just being open because Carson Wentz is there now with a bigger, stronger arm, and there's him being like a huge red zone threat. I definitely think that he'll have a huge role this upcoming season.
Right. Real fast, the other Cole is getting a lot of attention too. I've noticed over the last couple of weeks. Cole Holcomb, the Commanders Instagram and Twitter pages and the actual Commanders are pushing him hard, man. They're doing like Cole Holcomb appreciation posts, his haircut. They're showing off him in the new helmet and pads.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I know. Hey, he was a part of the schedule release video. Like, he's been all over the place. So good for him. Shout out to his family. You know?
Yeah. And Natty, but real quick before we get into the helmets and uniforms from what we saw at OTAs, AGG being moved to tight end happened recently. What do you think happens with that tight end room? Like, AGG moving to tight end, do you think that's an indictment of AGG, or is that possibly meaning something for like Sammis Reyes?
Definitely think it's an indictment on AGG. I'm not gonna lie. When we drafted him, I talked glowingly about him. I mean,
me too, man. Me too.
Yeah,
even Santana did. Santana Moss as well. I believe it was on at the time the Washington football team like YouTube page or something. He talked glowingly of him, and he did not turn out okay at receiver. I think we can all agree on that. 4th round pick. But in terms of tight end, I could see him doing some good things, especially because we might not have, once again, Logan Thomas at the beginning of the season. So the tight end group is a little bit in flux. But at the same time, I will say, you're a 4th round pick. They brought you in to be a receiver. And 2 years later, you're now a tight end. I mean, I feel like this is his last opportunity in the NFL.
I wouldn't say the NFL, but I understand what you're saying. I would say with the Commanders, just based off
getting close.
Right. And so with AGG, the biggest issue is probably going to be his blocking, putting the weight on his body and everything. But my biggest issue with AGG with this move is that would have really helped him last season with Pete Hainer still in the building. Now with Juan Castillo running things, right, are you still going to get that same response from the player that you're teaching like he did with Sammis Reyes, who actually really did progress throughout the season? But I agree with you, Nettie. I do think it is something more about AGG than Sammis Reyes or those other guys in the room. They're just trying to make him fit because they think he has a better chance at tight end making the team than he does at wide receiver, which kind of tells you how they feel about the wide receiver group. They absolutely love them.
But, AGG, if he can figure out a Rubik's Cube, he can figure out this blocking transition to tight end. I'm going to say he can't, apparently. I don't know. That's
couldn't figure out receiver.
Yeah, exactly. He couldn't even figure out receiver. So
messed up.
If he could run routes while he was doing a Rubik's Cube, maybe he would be.
He gets as much separation as a tight end anyway as it is. So, I mean, he might slide into the role. But me personally, I was never that high on AGG when we first drafted him. But also, I think that if they didn't draft Cole Turner, he could definitely fill into that kind of like that move tight end.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But with the addition of Cole Turner, I definitely think it's and then with Sammis Reyes being the project and he's already has kind of made his chops blocking, I definitely think that right now it could definitely change come mini camp and training camp, whatnot. But I think AGG might be the odd man out in that tight end run.
Yeah, look, I mean, Curtis Samuel, from everything that I saw, he is looking fast. He is looking confident. Even in his press conferences, he looks fantastic. But speaking of, Nadi, I want to get your opinion. What did you think of the visors on the helmets? I mean, didn't they just make them pop even more? Seeing Cam Curl coming out of the practice facility with that amber visor on, it's beautiful.
I mean, first off with the helmets, I mean, they're top two, and they might be one, honestly. I love the helmets, and the visors added on are absolutely incredible. It sucks that they can't actually wear the dark tinted visors during the regular season. I don't know why they still have that rule in place, but
it's for concussions.
Concussion, okay, but they're fire either way. They're fire either way, to answer your question.
They absolutely are. The reason for that is because if the medical personnel and the refs can't see your eyeballs if you get knocked out during a play, if with the amber and colored visor on, especially. So that's why they do it, just for health reasons. But it does look clean.
Yeah, I will say, and I've said this before, I say this actually every episode now, but the visors, what makes them look so good, aside from the colors, is those gold clips that they have on them, and it just makes it pop more for some reason. Like it has yellow right up there. I don't know what it is about it, but it just makes it look really good.
Dude, they did a great job with this uniform, man. As much as everyone was
remember how much
out about
people
the name
hated them
change,
at first, right?
I will say I'm still not rocking with that W on the front of the black helmet. I know a lot of fans have gotten used to it, but I'm sorry. I
will say, as I've said a couple times, it looks better on the newer age helmets than it does on like the one that they brought out to advertise at John Allen's old school shoot helmet. Like it just looked kind of out of place and weird there. But on the newer helmets where like the Revo Speed or the Revo Flexes have the little thing right here anyway, and you just kind of pop it right there, it looks good. It fits more, I will say.
I saw the edits with like Antonio Gibson in the black uniform with the black helmet. It looks fantastic, and I understand what you're saying. It does kind of stick out, but it's something I could absolutely gel with, dude. I love the look of that black uniform, but I'm telling you, man, I can't wait to see these guys in action with these uniforms. They're absolutely beautiful.
I wish the black helmets were kind of a matte finish too, though. The shininess of it's a little, maybe, I don't know, like they have the camo kind of on the sleeves and on the neck. Maybe if they like incorporated that somehow in there, that would be fire.
But to wrap this up, guys, last thing I promise. How on a scale from 0 to 10, Nutty, how concerned are you with like Chase Young, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat not being at OTAs?
I would say about a 5 or probably a 5. I'm not that concerned. In terms of Montez Sweat, there's reports that he's dealing with like off the field issues or maybe a family thing. I'm not sure. But Chase Young, I mean, he's still dealing with an injury, right? He sustained a torn ACL last season, so it's not like he's not doing anything right now. But I think come later on in the offseason program, I think all of them will show up and we won't have much to talk about in terms of absences.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just being blown out of proportion. Coach Rivera talked about how Chase Young had a plan in place, and they had this schedule where he was going to go to Colorado for his rehab. One thing I will say, anybody that says it is a big deal that your team leader is not there at OTAs for voluntary workouts, I agree with you. I do think it is some sort of a big deal just from a leadership aspect. But I will say, if you're giving him crap for this, you have to give him credit for when he did show up for the off-season workouts that were voluntary as well. He showed up in full force, same with Montez Sweat. So you can't have one without the other. So it kind of balances out, but I am not panicking. I'm not. This is a good football team. I need Chase Young to get back healthy. If this is by his doctor, and this isn't just for him to go out and work out with his buddies out in California or anything, if this is a legitimate plan, they knew about this, you have to sign off on it, and it's not that big of a deal, personally. And then with Deron Payne, we don't know what's going on with that situation. We don't know what's true, what's not. But I will say I'm not really concerned about it. I think they have a good grasp for that building. What do you think, all?
Yeah, I'm like pretty much I'm like a 4, just because like pretty much.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Out of 5 though.
I think like you guys already stated the reasons. Like Chase Young is rehabbing his knee. As long as he's there, maybe like towards the end of the voluntary stuff, I'm cool with it. Montez already reported he has some personal like stuff going on, and he'll be there eventually. So, and then Deron Payne, I get it because he's going into that 5th year. Why would you risk yourself getting injured going into the season when you're trying to get a contract, even though you got to perform this year to get that contract, probably from another team? But yeah, so I don't really have a big problem with it. Come like I said, the end of the program or like the involuntary stuff, and they're not there, then I might get a little bit worried. But at the end of the day, they're doing them. They're probably still like getting after it, working hard, stuff like that. So it is what it is.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm right there with you guys. I'll be real fast, Kyle. I'm like a 5 or a 6'2", and the thing is, the reason that I'm even that high is because I'm not worried about it, but seeing other fans freak out about it just gives me anxiety about it. Because then I'm like, well, what if this is true? What if this does happen? What if... So guys, just stop because you guys give me anxiety.
Yeah,
I would say,
Like one more point, like everyone's like, oh, he should be a leader and blah 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 stuff like that. I do get like that point of it. If you're a leader, you should be like showing leadership qualities and showing up. At the end of the day, Lamar Jackson's not the OTAs, Aaron Rodgers is not the OTAs, and they're quarterbacks. They affect the game way more than the defensive end does. And I'm sure come September, they'll be leading their teams just fine. So I just kind of brush it off as it is what it is. He'll be there eventually.
that's a great point, Hall.
yeah.
Thank you.
And for me, I mean, I should have started by saying this, but I feel like there are definitely tiers here in terms of like level of worry. I think Deron Payne is definitely like on a higher tier just because he is going into a contract year with Sweat and Young. From all accounts, like we've heard that they're going to be back, right? And it's not really contractually like related in terms of their absences. So I think in terms of Deron Payne, there's been a lot of talks about trading him. That hasn't really worked out. So I mean, you talked about this earlier, Kyle. Do you really want to go into the season with a guy that is only going to likely be here for this year and not really past this year, right? That kind of puts your roster in flux. But I would definitely say there's tiers of concern in terms of those three players.
That's probably the wise way to look at it instead of just saying, oh, I'm panicking about everything, right?
Yeah,
and the one thing I will say about Deron Payne with the whole, did he walk off about the contract? Did he quit practice? The whole thing about me is if he really was going to do it, why even go to practice? Just stay home at that point. Why even come dress up, go through the whole thing just to walk off the field in the middle of it? It doesn't make sense. And Ref the District brought up a good point by saying, well, his agent could have told him that to get like the big shock and awe effect from the media and stuff. But I will say you'd get the same end result as you would with Terry McLaurin. You're going to get paid at the end of it regardless, right? It does not matter what happens there. You're just making yourself look worse by having a lack of self-control by leaving in the middle of practice instead of saying, and with this whole situation, I'll just stay home.
Right, Deron, don't make me call John to come on over there and put you in your place again. Make you come.
They're boys now.
We love. I know, but hey, they were boys when they fought too. You know. What
I
I'm
will
saying?
say though, like in the case of Deron though, like you know Ron going back to like the off season, like back in March or whatever, February or whatever it was, like everyone's gonna be there 100% attendance. So like maybe he just respects Ron, is like, you know what, I can't do Coach dirty like that. Let me show up. But at the end of the day, like you could have just showed up and done nothing.
Right.
But
like
start doing drills and be like, all right, I'm done. Bye. So.
Right. Like Deron said, though, I mean, Deron straight up, if he wanted to make that a big thing, don't you think he wouldn't have tweeted what he tweeted? Like he was straight up like, people are saying this is about my contract, really? Like I feel like he just wouldn't have said anything because then he would have gotten his point across. But
Definitely
the fact he said that it's not about his contract makes me think that it's not about his contract.
You know, the Wookiees, it did not make sense. Did not make sense. Natty, I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother. This is going to wrap up this show. I've always been a fan of yours. You know, we talk at DM and everything, and I know this is a hard week for everybody, just trying to get everyone back up and running. I know it's kind of hard as a country to be able to get going again because it's a very messed up situation. But Natty, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out in your busy schedule, look at coming out of meetings just to hop into here. I can't thank you enough for doing that, brother. But before we get out of here, would you like to just plug your social media handles just in case anybody watching wants to come and follow you and follow your work?
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys for having me on. Again, this is a complete honor. I watch you guys, listen to you guys often. And even if I had a meeting, it doesn't matter. I always have to show up for an opportunity like this. But in terms of my handles, at DMVSportsZone on Twitter, I like to post a lot on there. Instagram, all lowercase DMVSportsZone. We even have a TikTok at DMVSportsZone as well. And our main channel, the YouTube channel, DMVSportsZone, posts a lot of content, not just about the Commanders, but about all the DC area teams. So thank you so much again.
Of course,
by the way, one of the best Twitter follows that there is right there.
Appreciate
Guy
it.
gets it.
Definitely got you here again, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely, dude. You're a good kid. You're gonna keep blossoming. I know you just graduated, by the way, so congratulations on that.
Rats.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. The ceremony's gonna be next week though, so that should be fun. But yeah, I appreciate that.
You got something big planned for it?
Not really. I mean, just walk across the stage. I know I did see a couple of I think it was a Celtics fan and another NBA fan put up like a like an app on their phone with like I don't know, like I think one of them was like fire Doc Rivers, and then like And I laughed it off with my fellas at DMVSportsZone, talk about maybe should I say like sell the team Dan or something like that, like show that up, but nah.
You know you'd go viral in this market, my man.
That's true.
All right,
You guys heard it first.
That's true. All right, everybody, it's gonna wrap us up for this show. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
I'm former NFL scout under Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells.
All right, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic Memorial weekend. We will see you guys on Monday night for another episode before Hall and I are heading to OTAs. Are you going, Eddie?
I am on Tuesday.
My man. Yep, Tuesday.
Yes.
Absolutely. Dude, that's going to be a blast with how many people are going. What a time that's going to be. It's going to be really hard not to record anything, I'm not going to lie. Really, really hard. Sure. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Please be safe. Have fun. And you always remember, Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched the BurgundyZone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!